Hello and welcome to the 4th Ogre Battle contest. In today's case, the contest to determine who is going to be the best at landing an impossible hit in the Valerian Isles. Today's team are a matchup between quick finesse and brutal power. We have the Master Swords versus the Berserker Beasts. One side specializing in avoiding damage at all costs, the other side at dealing that damage at all costs. Without any further ado, let's see how they do here. Looks like we have actually remembered to start the clock for this contest, so that's certainly a good start right there. Appears our fight is going to be starting off in the rain today. Certainly not good to see inclement weather coming up for things like this, but it seems like both teams are going to be taking it in stride. I would say this certainly favors the Berserkers where we stand right now. I don't expect that those robes will do very much for their mobility with all of this rain coming down. It appears that once again our resident weather expert has unfortunately gotten himself into a drunken brawl. I suppose, all things considered, we probably should not have hired a drunken pirate to handle the weather conditions for our contests. Though, that being said, he's actually recently been talking a lot about today's sponsor. And that would be Gallant Anti-Aging Cream. I look this good for my son's 99th birthday. What's your excuse? Certainly I have no excuse to look that good when we're that old. Alright, so both teams have come in prepared, as they always do. They've learned since last time of the fairly understated effects behind a lot of the equipment that's available to them. Essentially allowing them to reach far beyond what would normally be the extent of the range. And as we've seen right here, many of them are using these item spells to allow them to get some early gains. Now, due to the nature of these items, they don't actually always allow the wearer to become better with their respective elements. So we'll see how many of them will end up training their way going forward. Both of these teams are specialized at close-range combat, so we do expect both of them to have issues once they end up reaching the bridge. Now, between the two of them, there's certainly a lot more options that were available to the Berserkers, who are fairly unpicky when it comes to their equipment. All they care is that it's sharp and it hits the enemy real good. While over on the Swordmaster side, they have all come from an Eastern school of swordsmanship and have decided that there's only one type of weapon that they are allowed to use. They will only use their custom weapons, and as I understand, the only one to ever actually train in the use of these odd and fairly bendable swords is actually the old commander of the Valerian forces there. As I understand, he briefly dabbled in them before deciding that perhaps crossbows or spears were more their tune. And alright, it seems both teams are still at the foot of the stairs. This does not bode well for their speed going forward. Though between the two of them, the Swordmasters have certainly sped things up a little bit. We have specifically asked them to hopefully cut down on some of the dances that they're known for. Many of them will still be allowed to use those same dances. We just have asked them to kindly try to keep it to a relative minimum, just due to the fact that they will essentially take a bit of a while, and while many of our volunteers typically tend to be awed by the performances that they put on, we do find that, yes, it is fairly unsportsmanlike to simply start a dance routine in the middle of a contest such as this. But we are still going to allow them to use them, obviously. Alright, seems the Berserkers are starting to finally make their way up those first few steps. The Master Swords, though, they are currently still trying to work their way up. Many of them have actually brought their petrification swords with them. This is something that was previously trained in the School of Sword Mastery a few decades ago, in fact. Many of them were specifically taught the spell, but it seems in time it was just rendered easier. It was just determined for it to be easier for them to actually put the inscription onto the sword hilt, essentially allowing them to skip memorizing it when they could simply read it while they were in the middle of their day-to-day combat activities. So many of them will actually have fairly stationary targets moving into this area, which is good. I understand many of them spend a lot of their time actually carving straw, so it seems they've decided to put all of that practice to good use here. I can't imagine it would be very good for their edges to actually carve through stone, though I have been told that there's no such thing as a dull sword in our universe, so That's fair enough. In fact, somebody informed me that one of them, in fact, didn't even bother to take their sword out of the scabbard. It appears that they're literally swinging around the entire weapon, scabbard and all. That's all right. That is entirely their choice. Over on the Berserker side, it seems they're having a bit of a slow go of it here. Once again, only making it up to the second stair so far. Swordmaster is ever so slightly ahead, but I can't imagine that these two are going to be setting many records with this speed. Both of these teams will require a lot of actual damage in the final fight to be able to actually pull off a win here. Currently, neither of them are expected to be in the running when it comes to the overall speed category. And it seems like they're, on the Berserker side, their main area of effect, offensive caster, has actually just improved his casting skills by punching out one of the statues. Seems both are fairly well equipped to disable their enemies in fairly humiliating fashion. The Berserkers have actually decided to bring along a couple of team members with Aquahammers to allow them to support the rest of the squad if they should so need. They determined that they typically would probably wind up with only minor damage going through these different fights, so those two with hammers with their slight quench abilities might just be the thing they need to potentially pull out a bit of a win in an unlikely scenario, provided that they had nothing better to do. And I can't really argue with that logic. And actually, when the Swordmasters were going through, or I apologize, the Master Swords, when they were going through their training regimen there, a few of them were practicing with slings, just like the clerics and the singers were discussing earlier. But they ran into similar issues where it was simply too slow for them to proceed going down that particular route. And they really were not getting much benefit out of it. Not to mention their insistence on using these particular swords actually prevented them from using anything in their other hand. Additionally, they did not believe in shields, saying that they would simply cause... how exactly did they phrase it? Let me double check my notes here. Oh, yes, that they would engender passivity. It seems like, despite many dances and poems that they brought with them to discuss the greatness of their honorable ways, it seems they are a fairly war-heavy society where they happen to come from. I believe many of these were actually originally from the Isles, but the way that they act, the way that they sing, the way that they move makes me wonder if they maybe have come from another place entirely. We'll have to make sure to double-check their registration later to make sure that they are actually eligible for this contest. But it seems like at this point they are attempting to breach multiple statues here and are attempting to preempt the movements of these statues as well. Ladies and gentlemen, you are seeing that they are able to actually predict the movements of an inanimate object. It's truly incredible. Over on the right side, appears the Berserkers have more or less cleaned up the entire area. The Master Swords really need to attempt to hurry things up a little bit here. And all right, seems the Berserker team is a bit confused where that last ghost is hiding. They seem to have stunned him. They seem to still be chasing around the skeleton, and this is certainly when their range limitations are coming to bear. And in fact, not only were those Swordmasters actually able to predict the movements of a statue, they were actually now able to reduce the accuracy of that immobile statue as well. Truly, truly talented fighters. Alright, it seems one of the Berserkers has decided to throw grenades at a skeleton. Alright, seems they're still going on there. I would assume that the Lady Berserker there on the bottom left might decide to go finish off that ghost, allowing the skeleton to be finished off on the right, which would allow them to finally clean up this contest. Currently there's a massive lead for the Berserkers, though they are certainly having very embarrassing issues right now. You really do not want to see a team getting stuck by something like this. But they were not invited here for their mental capacities. Many of these folks have mentioned that they will perfectly accept folks with head injuries into their ranks, and that does seem to certainly be the case right now. Alright, it seems like those skeletons are starting to fight back. They've lost their one person that was close to damaging that ghost. That's alright, they'll eventually get there. Meanwhile, the Master Swords are continuing to carve through these statues. using ever blunter swords, it seems, and still attempting to predict the movements. Alright, and once again we are attempting to use non-lethal objects for functionally no damage against a skeleton. As a reminder, that was a pure evil grenade, essentially using the forces of darkness against a unit created by complete darkness. We're seeing some excellent logic here today, folks, and look at that. The ghost has finally been dealt with. Will somebody finally deal that last 1 damage to that skeleton? It appears not, though it may not be terribly necessary. They might just actually do it on their own by the looks of it. Oh, an unfortunate parry by that skeleton. As a reminder, folks, it doesn't matter how good your damage actually is if you simply cannot land your hit. And all our volunteers do come fully able to parry any incoming blows. It's just a matter if they have been training to parry or if they've been training to deflect. Now, will they finally finish off this 1 health skeleton over there on the right side? It does appear that there's only a single sinew holding his entire spine together. They would have to do literally anything. A stiff breeze. I apologize. My apologies, actually, to Francisca down there. I believe they are actually a female skeleton. It is very difficult to tell, not only because of the clothing that they wear, but because of the fact that they have no defining features, to actually know their actual gender. It was not my intent to insult anyone in that particular regard. And over on the left, it seems like, yes, the Master Swords are slowly but surely making their way through this 1 skeleton, causing a big problem for the Berserkers here. It seems they can't really understand what that skeleton's doing. I will actually have to jot down to maybe have the team check for vision issues. It is a very heavy rain day. So it's possible, it is certainly possible, that as it stands, it might just be inclement weather that's causing them issues. And meanwhile, the Master Swords are still attempting to carve down these statues. They might actually take the lead here in a very embarrassing fashion. I'm not even sure if they realize that skeleton's over there right now. They're not even facing that direction. In fact, believe, yes, I'm actually hearing from from one of their representatives on the back here. Apparently, they're a bit confused as to why the door hasn't opened to allow them to go forward. This is unfortunate. We can only hope that they realize what's going on before it's too late. Meanwhile, yes, the Master Swords are realizing that there is actually a skeleton, not a skeleton, but a ghost over there. It seems like the rain has actually let up a little bit on their side. Yes, looks like these Berserkers are still very confused. Alright, over with the Master Swords, there's that sword in a scabbard. Strangely enough, it still seems to do damage just fine, so yes, it does seem to belie that edges do not actually exist in our universe. It seems I was mistaken this entire time. You can simply swing any object, and as long as it has the right numbers attached to it, everything's fine. Alright, the Master Sword's slowly, very slowly, catching up. It seems like at this rate, we might actually have to put both teams down to their minimum value. As it stands, they cannot seem to work their way past this initial area, and that is certainly embarrassing. Many of them, again, have brought in options to deal with these things, but for some reason they seem to be vaguely aware that there's a skeleton in that direction, but they refuse to finish him off. This is truly embarrassing, folks. We will give them about 5 more minutes to see if they can figure out a way out of here, but we might actually be just simply moving on to our next contest if they can't seem to understand the race. It seems our producer is saying if we do run into a situation where we have people that are seemingly unable to actually see where their enemies are due to weather conditions or whatever else, the average has been for about 40 minutes. So instead of the full 50, seeing as they're simply stuck due to a technicality here, they would be set to 40 minutes instead to still allow them to fight their way forward in the contest. In the case that somebody is actually stuck due to direct choices that they are making in those particular situations, then yes, they would be put up to a maximum of 50, with an exception made during our last contest where the Terranites Team Danger Zone were actually given a penalty and forced to continue beyond that time limit simply because of their deplorable, unsportsmanlike behavior during that contest. And there we go. It seems like, yes, the Berserkers have finally found their way forward. And it seems like, yes, both teams will not qualify then for this particular technicality, and they are moving their way on up, folks. All right, looks like the Berserker Beasts are making it to level 2. Only a few maps to go, but they are certainly cutting it close on time. That is longer than any other team so far, and the Swordmasters are certainly not doing themselves any favors here. And finally they managed to work their way forward, and there we are. They will now be moving ahead. And, folks, I'm not sure how the Berserkers are going to handle this. There is now a ferry that is actually hiding up at the top of the zone there. We'll see if they actually have the means to deal with them as their abilities permit. As you can see, these Berserkers can deal tremendous amounts of damage, but as it stands, well, they're only able to do so if they can actually get close enough to make use of them. And there we go, the cigar throwing out a word of pain for them there. These particular talons right here are actually expected to do a lot of work for them in the long run. They arguably are one of their best offensive options as it stands, but they do still have to make their way to that final contest. Alright, and yes, they're still moving forward. Will they still have the means to attack that ferry up there? Because I'm not sure that they'll actually come down and engage. Until they've built up their skills well enough that they're actually able to use some of their adrenaline-fueled moves, they may have a harder time actually landing some of these supposedly impossible shots, but these are, once again, professional athletes. They will usually find a way. There we go, firing a nice bolt out of that hammer there, and it seems they do have a way to deal with that fairy. They've dealt with her, and they're moving their way on up. We're seeing some excellent sportsmanship coming out of the Berserk Beasts, showing the Danger Zone squad how it should be done. Essentially doing only enough to actually take out their opponents, and attempting to do so in a humane manner, while still retaining a tremendous amount of overall punch behind those massive biceps. And alright, it seems both teams have cleared the right flank. Actually, it seems like the Berserk Beasts have actually cleared the entire map. Meanwhile, the Master Swords are moving their way on forward, dealing once again with the statues that they've created. Now, in their particular case, while this strategy does seem fairly slow, the actual delays that happened last time were due to a bit of a different situation. The actual delays that they ran into were... Oh! It seems like they also have a ferry up there. The delays that they ran into last time were on account of them not quite finishing off their enemies entirely. In this case, due to their movement and due to their overall available attack options, it's usually better for them to shut down their enemies and then walk up slowly and deal with them as they see fit that way. Now, between these two teams, I would say the Berserker Beasts have the advantage for Zone 3 here. They do have more options to attack vertically, and none of these enemies are expected to be able to actually attack back. And over on the left, it seems like the Swordmasters have actually decided to just accept a looks like a copper medal over an actual win here today. A strange choice, to be sure, but all the same, they're working their way on up, slowly carving their way through these statues. This does definitely take additional turns for them to do, but it does also prevent them from letting their enemies escape. And as we've seen so far, they certainly have a harder time dealing with these mobs. They are specialized duelists. They do expect to do a lot better once we come to the actual combat round. And it seems like they've decided to go for more dances. Fair enough. Now, unlike those songs from the other day, we don't expect any long-lasting mental impacts from seeing these dances. And in fact, the only ones that we would really worry about are perhaps some of our more elderly viewers, which again, just as a bit of a reminder, we really do recommend trying out Gallant Anti-Aging Cream. That stuff really does work. It's truly amazing. It's a discovery that came out of Platinus a good while ago. I can personally attest to several family members having tried it, and it's remarkable to see somebody last well into their 300s, yet be permanently locked in their same 20s look, despite the fact that their birth certificate shows that they've been 99 for at least a couple of 100 years. It's really remarkable, and certainly it's a step up from their previous anti-aging method, which was simply to allow their friends and relatives to turn into zombies and just carry them around on a leash, which was certainly a bit difficult to watch, but I suppose, all the same, it did allow them to remain around for as long as it took for them to actually complete everything that they wanted to, and then as soon as their business was complete, they would simply allow them to exercise, and that was the end of that. Now, how exactly an entire country happens to have mastered the entire arts of life and death, yet somehow can't seem to figure out basic politics, is really anyone's guess here. And alright, it seems on the right, the Berserk beasts have made their way up to about halfway on this tower, slowly pushing their way up, or at least almost halfway. Meanwhile, the Master Swords are apparently discussing how on earth they're meant to deal with this fairy, and they are considering taking the 40-minute technicality out here, as they may not have any further options to actually deal with this. We will allow them until the 40-minute mark to figure out what's going forward, but yes, their team captain is actually messaging me now, stating that this is really their only way forward, but they have no effective means of actually finishing off this fairy. It's a little bit of an embarrassing situation for them. No one wants to be stuck in that type of position. But again, as long as we're before the 25-minute mark, you can take the 40-minute technicality to be able to still continue on in the contest. Meanwhile, the Berserk beasts are deciding to still continue pushing on forward. It seems they are also considering that same option, just due to the slow progress that they're making. It seems like they want to at least continue up until that 25-minute mark. And they're now attempting to charm a statue on the left. I don't believe... No, that actually they're simply slowing down the statue. So they now know that they can predict the movements of a statue that is both slowed down, inaccurate, and unable to think. Wonders will never cease, it appears. And they have now breached this statue, but they still cannot hurt this statue. Alright, the Berserk Beasts at least trying to complete this map before that 25-minute timer. And it seems they might even have some difficulty with that, but it seems it's a matter of pride at this point, as they continue to move their way on up. But again, I realize for some folks it may be a little bit confusing how often that that this organization changes the rules for this particular contest, but it should be noted that for many of our contestants, they may have limitations in terms of their abilities, in terms of just the types of things that they might be engaging in, and many of them are very, very, very heavily specialized towards the combat end of things, and this is why the 40-minute mark was chosen. Simply because it's right in the middle between the kind of best and worst times at this point. And if they were to actually win, they would have the means of moving forward. And look at that! It looks like one of them has actually figured out that he could have attacked the entire time. So yes, they have completed that map over there. And the Master Swords are taking the 40-minute, I apologize, technicality. And they will go ahead and... move on to the combat round now. They will not be attempting to take any further actions. This does potentially put them a little bit behind in terms of their overall potential power, but yes, they will be moving forward here. Seems they are going back to something called a title. Interesting. It appears our universe has a logo. I suppose it shouldn't be too much of a concern. These squads seemingly are dealing in an area that has been known to have angels in it. All right. So it seems like the Master Swords will be getting formed up right now, while the Berserk Beasts continue to attempt to push their way through here. But it seems, yes, I am hearing from their team captains now that they have decided to go ahead and take the 25-minute technicality here. As would be expected, both these teams are definitely going to have a harder time when it comes to the longer range side of things. So the timer will continue on, and they will both be putting down 40 minutes for their time. I feel that this is a pretty good compromise, considering their conditions. Alright, we'll now be reaching out to see what maps they're both assigned. Alright, it looks like the Master Swords will be going to the moon. Alright, we have the moon available for them. It seems the judge's decision is actually currently affecting our camera equipment. These things are unfortunate, but they will come up sometimes. So they will be fighting in the Zorius Field. That is not a great map for them. But all the same, they aren't really fighting any ranged units this time around, so that should be just fine. And it looks like the Masters here have run, or the I apologize, the Beasts here have actually run out of time, so they'll go ahead and be transferred over to their respective map as well. They did make it a little bit farther, and it looks like they will be taking the Fool map. So we'll go ahead and allow them to retreat from here. Alright, folks, and it looks like we are ready to start this fight. We have the Master Swords and the Berserker Beasts going off in the Archive plus Rhyme and the Zorius Field. Now, the Zorius Field could certainly be a mire. I actually, thinking about it now, it actually might be a bit of a big benefit to the Swordmasters, who simply have to hold still to do the majority of their damage, but it could equally be beneficial to the Berserk Beasts, who can attack in an area around them. So it remains to be seen. Many of these teams have not actually had much time to build up their respective skills, so we'll just have to see how this ends up playing out. Both of them are specialized at close range, definitely same idea, approached from different angles. The Berserk Beasts certainly have them beat in terms of raw damage, but the Master Swords definitely have more defense on their side, being able to avoid just about anything that comes their way. And the Berserkers do not have anything that's guaranteed. They may actually use some of those higher accuracy finishers as a potential option going forward. They'll certainly be opening with a lot more items at their disposal. There's only so many of the types of swords that the Swordmasters use that actually had these types of abilities on them, which certainly hindered them on their way up the tower. So it seems like we're already seeing some of that coming out on the left. The Berserkers choosing to take an alleyway to make a closer beeline to get closer to the Swordmasters early. Seems a few of them might actually be circling around the right side, and they're wasting some of these abilities to try to get somebody taken out early. But due to the fact that many of them are not specialized casters, nor have they really had time to build up their skills, they simply will not really have the augments that they need, so this still more than likely will come down to a close-range fight. None of them could really specialize in their specialized casting abilities, though the Swordmasters in particular did expect to have to rely on their petrification a lot. So it seemed like many of them were actually studying the ways of spell strike there. I believe they said that they achieved rank 4 in that particular one. We'll see if that actually does it for them. It might potentially give them an early advantage, as they do have a lot of uses of that. And yes, there we go, 100%. The Berserk Beast simply cannot defend against that. So if it is something that allows them to maybe gain an advantage here, we'll see. We see the one there that actually avoided it. I believe that might be the Berserker that came in with the Fire Crest. I believe he was actually the one with the Assassin Blade as well. He expected to be required for a longer period of time using that dagger. They were not expecting a whole lot of defensive threshold on these relatively lightweight Swordmasters. So as I understand, they actually expected their daggers to do quite a bit, and a few of them did specialize in this. So we'll see if this ends up panning out for them. And we see the Aqua Hammers coming out for some of that long-range refreshment. A 37 is not bad in terms of recovery. It's certainly not the best that it could be, but it certainly could be worse as well. And it seems, yes, they're starting to weaken their enemies. I apologize, that's actually a breach, not a weaken. A weaken would be a pretty solid choice here. I'm not sure if a breach is really what they need, they really already have damage covered. More than likely, what we're going to see is a lot of these Swordmasters potentially either dodging or dying when it comes to these individual hits, especially from many of those heavier hammers, claws, and what have you. But it seems like many of them are going for casts as well, and we have some minor petrifications on each side, but we have not seen more of those petrification swords coming out from the Master Swords. Seems many of them are still attempting to make use of some of their long-range abilities to try to whittle down their enemies. In terms of overall recovery, the Swordmasters have that one covered. Both sides have brought a few medics with them. Both sides knew that it probably would not be the thing that ends up winning them the fight, so they didn't necessarily over-specialize. I believe they had 2 or 3 on each team, and additionally, the Swordmasters have their healing dance, their harvest dance, where they simply discuss corn to such a degree that it makes everybody feel good and full, which is truly an impressive level of poetry expertise in and of itself. And an impressive area petrification off of herself there. That's quite a power play, knowing that she would be able to avoid the move, but they would not. Certainly some impressive moves coming out from these clever sword fighters here. But yes, a few of them have gotten petrified on the right there as well. I'm not really seeing the stopping power so far. While they are attempting to almost entirely stop them, I'm not seeing any big hits coming out from these Swordmasters. You would have expected them to get close and attempt to actually harm these statues, but as it stands, they're still requiring, or they're still attempting to actually just stop them in their tracks entirely. Hopefully they end up making up that time. And we're seeing the Talons coming out again, and how big of a hit will this be? That's actually pretty devastating, especially 5 attacks coming out from Sylphide there. They are certainly feeling the wind there today. It remains to be seen whether the overall weather or how the map is feeling that particular day has anything to do with how many actual bolts come out of old Sylphide there. That's something that I believe our scientists were still hoping to test and discover. So we'll see that over time. And it seems like, yes, the Berserk beasts have been almost entirely stopped in their tracks right now. But the Master Swords have not used this to gain any sort of advantage in this fight. They're simply biding their time for some reason. And we see a bit more dancing coming out there on the right side. It must be very difficult to dance in that tar. Certainly have to respect the efforts of steps with that much style. And seems to have the Earth Greaves coming out. That's a very solid choice here. These Berserkers cannot guarantee any of their hits, so something like a False Strike could be absolutely detrimental to any hope that they have of landing those hits. They're still attempting to slow these enemies down. They have to try and kill them while they're in statue form. It is their main advantage right now, but they're simply not taking advantage of it. Alright, some of the Berserk Beasts are now breaking out of those statues and attempting to move forward. Very low hit odds for these Berserkers. Many of them came specialized expecting to have to take very accurate strikes, but it still might not be enough. And many of them are still stopped in their tracks. All the Swordmasters have to do now is move forward and attack. It seemed... Oh no. Next week, we might actually have a little bit of, looks like a little bit of a promotion for Debonair's hair regrowing formula. As it appears, the Swordmaster's team captain is over there ripping his hair out. But yes, they are not using this advantage that they've gotten to move anywhere in this fight. This is certainly their fight to take right now. Their enemy is entirely defenseless. They're on the right side. They're finally deciding to take some moves. Over on the left, they are actually attempting to get rid of their own debuffs, but there's nobody even attacking them. Both of these teams have made some very questionable decisions here today. I believe some of them might have potentially come down with a head cold while the rain was happening earlier, and maybe it's so bright that they're just getting heat stroke right now. I can't think of any reason why they would be doing this. And over there, the Berserker Beasts finally coming out of their stupor and coming in for those big hits. A big dagger strike from the team captain. We see a big hammer coming out from the Beasts over on the right as well, coming for a big Crimson Reach, causing an explosion in the middle of the field. Thankfully, that tar is not currently flammable. Mind's Eye coming out from Jackus there on the left. More petrifications coming out on the right side. attempting to evade those hits that are not even remotely coming in their direction. Alright, seems they are now attempting to mind control. No, they actually are not attempting to do that. It seems like they are now slowing down these Berserkers even farther. The only one apparently attempting to take a swing on the right side there is the one who can't bother to pull their sword out of their scabbard. Alright, it seems like, yes, they're finally starting to make some moves on the left. It is truly embarrassing for them to take this long to actually take advantage of a situation that is now beginning to turn against them on every side. They have to hope that those preempts will be enough to keep them in this contest. Yes, the last of those petrifications going out on the right side. Almost the entirety of the Berserker Beast team is turned to stone, yet they still are only attacking the few that are not. Folks, you really hate to see this. They seem to be unable to land a hit in many of these situations. On the left, it still seems to be a bit of a brawl between both sides. The Swordmasters are still attempting to petrify their enemies. This strategy was very effective for them when they were going and running their theoretical scenarios, but it seems like today they have made some very questionable decisions. Certainly, this is their advantage to take right now. I believe since they did not have an easy time up that mountain, their lack of time when they're working their way through there is potentially what ended up causing a lot of these issues, seeing as they didn't actually have time to work their skills up, and potentially this would have given them a bit more confidence in their ability to swing these statues in half. This really should have been their contest to take, and there we go. Even more petrifications, actually. I was about to say we might actually see a few attacks on the right, but yes, they're currently, finally, starting to attack every now and then, though it may not matter. Oh, those big parries coming in. This is another reason that they actually chose those swords. They are very easy to parry with, giving about at least a 10% chance for them to parry, which will increase every time that ends up being landed. Every time that they feel that they've already done it, their confidence goes up by about twice as much. So I would expect her odds maybe went up to about 25% to parry the next hit that comes her way. That is a big turnaround for them. Some big hits. I was about to say it looked like the Master Swords were actually about to go down there. Over on the left, it's still a bit of a chaotic mess of absolutely nothing, it seems. Going for that cudgel hit, which is understandable. They haven't really taken too many actual swings with that thing. There we go. Everyone's skills are starting to build up. They're finally starting to get some momentum here. They're starting to have a few options. I will say, going forward, I do not expect the Master Swords to be able to carry their way through this contest to any significant degree, but we will see how that ends up panning out in the overall ratings. I do not see them winning this. At the very best, if they continue winning fights like this, they might be able to rank somewhere around the middle, which might be enough for at least a month's supply of Dragon's Steak. But that remains to be seen as it stands. And it seems like, yes, Berserk can in fact be dodged by Mind's Eye. Something that is very useful to know, and it seems, yes, they're going to be getting the first KO there on the right. Big parries coming in on the left. Those swords coming in fairly handy for allowing them to parry incoming blows. It seems we've got some petrification coming in on the right. Still a very, very messy fight. Both sides attempting to shut each other down repeatedly. And yes, there we go. More big hits coming in on the statues. Unfortunately, they are surely running out of these fairly soon. They should not be relying on petrification alone if they're not going to be taking as many attacks. But yes, looks like the Berserkers are starting to make a bit of a comeback on the right side. It actually looks like there's one down for each side. I was about to say it might be the Berserkers making some momentum, but yes, it is still a dead even fight on both sides. Over on the left, we have more breaches coming in. That might give them the confidence they need to actually push forward, and a big 25% on the right side there as another Swordmaster goes down. We see a comely dance coming in for more of those breaches. Will that be what they need? They seem to be trying to hype themselves up repeatedly, but if they're not going to take those attacks, what is the point? And a shriving dance coming out on the left. Lots of dances over there. The daggers coming out for those statues. Appears, yes, even the petrification coming out on both sides here. I believe that was the Evil Deeds set, now one of the Berserkers, that allowed them to petrify their enemies. It seems like once again we have decided to run random fire drills repeatedly in the background. Surely by this point we would have figured out to simply have a water wizard on staff and a big 481 coming there from one of the Berserker beasts. We have Eldred coming in with that fire breath, doing a little bit of damage, but even with that breach, even with an augment, it is simply not enough. They have not been training their augments or their weapon skills enough to be able to keep pushing forward like this. They need to have more options going forward. And whatever way this ends up panning out, we hope that these teams will still be coming back for another round to hopefully elaborate on some of these ideas that they came in with. As a reminder, current standings, we have the Warwolf Wizards, who are currently leading the pack at 1951, with the Archers Dominus coming in second at 2014, followed quite a bit behind by the Amazon Warriors at 29-25. As a reminder, due to the revision of our combat round rules, both teams were considered tied between the Warriors and the Archers for that first round, allowing them both to get that 10-minute penalty. Now, in third place right now, we have Team Danger Zone at, or I apologize, that would be fourth place. We have Team Danger Zone at 37-27, followed just behind by the Punish Pumpkins at 38-24. And then we will see where this contest ends up rating everyone. Currently, both of these competitors are at 40, so only the winner is going to be moving forward. In the very last spot right now, there's the Chaos Clerics at 50. They did not win their fight, and they timed out of the speed round. So right now, they are currently unquestionably last, and presumably will continue to do so. One way or another, even without the current system of the 40-minute technicality, I have spoken with the Chaos Clerics team captain in the background, and it seems they were not actually interested in taking that sort of extra step. It appears that they were actually confident that they would be able to push through and actually make some pretty decent time, but unfortunately, due to repeated petrification shenanigans, they were not able to do so. Though going forward, this is a rule that we will allow to avoid those kinds of situations, as the map can potentially foul these competitors sometimes, and it should be up to the teams to decide whether or not they should take a penalty to be able to continue forward, or if they will attempt to struggle it out while building themselves up. Alright, it seems on both sides we're not seeing too much going down. It seems 2-on-2 there on the right side. Actually, no, it seems like it's going to the Berserker Beasts on the right side, where they are repeatedly taking big hits and taking down the Master Swords. On the left, actually, we're seeing a similar situation start to play out, and I think this might be going to the Berserker Beasts so far. They are attempting to recover with their harvest dances. They are discussing corn to a very, very, very lively audience. I have never seen somebody so excited about corn outside of Wisconsin. And now it seems they are attempting to mind control their enemies, and sure enough, it actually succeeded. So they were expecting to have this as a backup strategy. They were specializing in this spell strike type of training, which allows them to have a bit better odds of landing those kinds of abilities. They're fairly unlikely to land under most circumstances, but if they continue down that path of training, they can be some very impressive debuff landers. Now, once again, appears we are seeing more of these moves coming out. Lots of big hits coming down on the Master Swords. Unless they start making use of Preempt and actually having some tricky moves coming down, I don't see them pulling this back. Even when they are attempting to use their Preempt, they are simply stuck. So yes, many of them are in fact just stuck in place right now. They can't really make use of a lot of this stuff. More big hits coming in from the Berserkers. Even the ones specialized in evasion seem to be losing some of that evasion due to the fact that they're fighting in tar there on the right, so it's really just coming down to those big hits. Over on the left, of course, the statue can't necessarily fight back. The lady with the scabbard sword has turned somebody else to stone, as if we haven't seen enough of that today. And oh no, you hate to see that no mercy coming out. Here's somebody chanting kill, kill, kill in the background. Something about a cane? I don't know. It's a little bit hard to make out, but unfortunately, yes, we have had a little bit of an odd cult problem going on over there in Rhyme. Hopefully that's something that they'll be able to sort out before too long. And we have the Flame Flail coming out on the right for a Fireball. It's a very minor amount of damage in the grand scheme of things. Certainly a lot of those abilities will help them deal with those mobs early on, but they won't always be a big deal when it comes to this stage of the fight, just due to the sheer bulk of many of our competitors. And both sides here are expected to need to rely on high health to actually get them through this huge brawl that they've been coming down to. Big mind scores over off of the Master Swords, landing those petrifications consistently. But it seems, yes, the Berserker Beasts are simply pushing through regardless of their numbers. They simply don't care, as it stands. The big Mantis Strike going over there. It seems one of them was actually able to be dodged, which is fairly impressive considering that does actually scale accuracy. What does that even mean? I don't know, but according to my guidebook here, the Gospel of Matsuno, that's actually how that works. It is something that it is good to have a book that attempts to have a detailed explanation for all things in our universe. And apparently it was actually written by God himself, so that's perfectly fine. Alright, more maces coming out on the right side, and nothing there. Alright, a big Crimson Reach coming out, a lot of those Swordmasters clustered up, and I believe it's fairly safe to say that the Berserker Beasts certainly have this fight handled on the right side. That Harvest Dance, it's not going to be what they need. They simply are too distracted right now, attempting to pull all of their tricks rather than attempting to make any meaningful progress. And yes, the Swordmasters at most are doing very small amounts of damage. Apparently they seem to have blunted their swords attacking these statues this entire contest. Though, I suppose we should still officially consider the fact that, yes, sharpness is not a concept that exists in our universe. It is simply a matter of the number attached to the weapon. Right over there on the left, a guy Asunder coming in. It seems to have missed. A preempt there on the right, but only one unit that might be able to be baited out by that, and down another Swordmaster goes. This is a very, very one-sided and ugly endeavor right now, folks. And we might see another one, and no, they are able to block it. They are still able to defend themselves. A big parry coming in from one of the beasts, coming in for a counter there as well. And look at that. We have that damage mitigation coming in, or that risk management appears to have done absolutely no damage to their actual intended target. A big 354 coming in from those talons, nearly taking out another Swordmaster there on the left. I would say it's anyone's game, but this is going very, very well for the beasts. They're pretty much carving down their competition with almost no losses so far. They had one that went down in the melee there on the right, but this is truly brutal right now. Even specialized for evasion, they're having a very hard time dodging all of these accuracy scaling abilities. And alright, seems like, yes, even we have some of these legendary wind weapons coming in on both sides. Actually, no, just on the beast side. In fact, there are no legendary wind katanas there. There were some that were wind elemental. They seem to have a lot of wind swirling around them, but primarily they were going for those earth swords, for those parries, as well as those petrification abilities. And an interesting situation there, where they failed to take out the unit they were going for. They did no damage, but they did petrify them. It's a very interesting way that risk management works. It should be noted that many of these Berserkers actually did come from our accounting department, which is not something that's necessarily sitting terribly well with us whenever we have a question with payroll. It does seem that they got tired of the old nerd stereotype and have been working out, and yes, it looks like they are now swole as hell. So yes, never doubt your number crunchers, folks. And another Stone Bloom coming out for another near guaranteed petrification. It seems like they can't seem to miss those as it goes. They might actually manage to get one of the beasts down on the left. I'm not really seeing any odds for them to come back here on the right. They take a swing, they get a little bit better, and then the beasts come back and hit them twice as hard. It's simply repeating itself over and over and over. And as much as it would be cool to see a class this specialized move their way forward, Unfortunately, I believe many of them should potentially just put these swords down, maybe go visit the Scabellum Fistfight Dojo, potentially just work their way up with unarmed damage. I'm fairly certain they'd be doing a lot better than with these terrible weapons that they brought with them. It does not appear like they have very many options. They are attempting to do their best, but unfortunately there's really only so much they can do. They can only stall for time here, attempting to petrify their enemies repeatedly. But this is not going to be what ends up winning them this contest. They do, again, specialize very strongly in one-on-one fights, and repeatedly they've gotten themselves stuck in the middle, attempting to parry their enemies' attacks, attempting to preempt those attacks with attacks of their own. But as it stands, none of them have been in a good position to actually make use of those, as they have repeatedly just been outmaneuvered by the beasts in all directions, and or have just not been able to put themselves in good positions. Over there, there's potentially one preempt that might have a chance to actually land. They are signaling us from the studio here to let us know who looks like they're about to preempt somebody. But even with all of those advantages that they had going into this, it seems like the beasts are simply overpowering them to a very strong degree. Usually you would have expected the tricksters to pull this one out, but yes, it does not seem like they're interested in pushing their advantage. So it looks like this is pretty much a foregone conclusion here. Oh, no, they're actually starting to attempt some different tactics there on the left. It may be too late for them to pull it back, but they're still going to try. They've already lost half their team, but they are attempting to double up on several units at once now. They're attempting to form up into a cluster there on the right, making use of that petrification. It seems like the beasts have nothing better to do but to sit and chow on some mend leaves for your nice, minty, fresh breath. And another big Tyrant's Mace coming in. And that is going to miss. Okay, he stands another day. And perhaps they can start making some moves there on the right. It's unlikely, but there are at least 2 Berserkers that have gone down. I would be impressed if they managed to pull this off. With every unit that goes down, their odds improve, because that suddenly means that there's potentially better ways for them to preempt. Swordmasters definitely do fight better when they're outnumbered. So there's a very solid chance many of them might potentially run into that trademark preempt knockback combo that they're known for. This is a bit of a brawl here, so there's a possibility that they simply won't gain any benefit out of it. But yes, they are still trying to struggle this out. Big shadow pin there on the right and landing against all odds. That was just plain unlucky. Thankfully, we do have a means to actually see the odds of all of these things landing, which is always good to have. We're not entirely sure how that works. We just know that we put our camera griffin up in the sky, some beeps and boops happen, and they tell us what the odds are on these respective hits. We've left this up entirely to our technical team, and look at that, another solid hit actually over there, coming in with a big Sun Blossom and a False Strike. That might just be what they need, giving their enemy some inaccuracy, attempting to heal themselves a little bit. It's so unlikely, but you know what? Slowly but surely, these Harvest Dances might be what they need, and look at that, a big 500 that was just blocked away. I'm not even sure how you block something like that, and the Berserkers have just been turned against themselves. A Sanguine Assault that actually went to their own guy, as well as Berserk, that ended up hitting both of their own. Their own abilities just turned against them in a massive way. Will he be able to block this? And no, that is Sigurd over there for the Master Swords that goes down. Over on the left, it seems like no, this is definitely still favoring the beasts over there. At best, they might be able to achieve a tie here, as another one goes down. And over there, it looks like, yes, another one of the beasts is about to go down. They could still pull this off. There's no chance for them on the left. The left is fairly safely called for the Berserker beasts. On the right, though, they still have a small glimmer of hope of potentially putting both teams forward at the 30-minute mark. But as it stands, both are still at 40, fighting for that 15 minutes for the Berserker beasts, and fighting just to get up to that 10-minute mark. for the Master Swords. All right, and it looks like, yes, there was another Berserk that was actually turned around. That might be a fascinating turnaround if they manage to somehow pull this off. And over on the left, yes, they are still attempting to finish off that last Swordmaster, who is hit against all odds, unfortunately. Over on the right, both lines are still currently formed. On the left, little to no chance of her ever pulling this off at all. She's outnumbered, surrounded, and this really should be her forte, but she can't seem to actually dodge a single thing. Over on the right, the Berserker is still holding a complete surrounding advantage, but the numbers are just about even right now. This still could be anyone's contest. Those harvest dances actually helping them a lot more than you would expect. Never underestimate the power of discussing corn, people. And a big 543, will they be able to land that? As the Master Swords go down on the left side. And that looks like, yes, another big hit coming in. It seems the luck on the Beast's side is incredible for them to repeatedly pull off these kinds of hits. Now, you may notice many of them did not actually bring in counters, and this was exactly why. Especially on the Berserker side, many of them expected to potentially be landing Berserks against each other, while on the Swordmaster side, they simply expected to push their enemies away. So as it stands, they haven't really had much of a reason to put counter on there, choosing instead to specialize in being able to land these petrifications, as well as just a lot of these abilities that allow them to dodge. And alright, seems like they are once again going for those breaches. It's still certainly in favor of the Berserk Beasts here. Can they tie this down? Can they finally finish it off is the question. But lots more harvest dances. Now we actually should look into a sponsorship by the Harvest Corn Company. I'm pretty sure they might could potentially consider it. And alright, still more dances. As I understand, actually, in the background, they were testing to see if there was anything more they could do with these dances, potentially improving their ability to discuss this healing corn. And apparently, no, they were not actually able to do much more than learn about the human body and how it digests said corn. Namely, it really can't, but it still is something that they like to discuss all the same. And another Swordmaster going down, another one of the Berserk Beasts sitting and chewing on some leaves. They might actually be starting to relax, thinking that this contest is already won. But if they're going to have one of their doctors come out with a big heal like that, it really might as well be. They would need to pull out some impressive moves, and they are not currently doing it. Looks like another Mantis Strike coming in. Very good odds to end it for her, and yes, she goes down as well. And another unlikely critical hit coming in from Helvina over there. Looks like we have Mind's Eye coming in from Mr. Jackus. The thing is, they have to be doing more than they're doing. They simply have been too pacifist in this contest. They've been attempting to out-heal their enemies, and perhaps taking the counter approach would have been a bit more productive for them. But frankly, they were expecting to be able to parry more of these hits. They were expecting to do more overall, and despite that, even when they have attacked, their odds have been amazingly terrible. So it looks like, yes, they've got Petrification coming in. And they have yet another big hit coming out there. Potentially, folks, we might see another grudge match down the line here. Both these two competitors end up fighting each other again. As again, there are no eliminations. We'll actually be going through 3 phases with all of these different teams fighting each other in different combinations to see who ends up with the highest score in the end. So we never know what might end up happening in the final championships of this multi-phase tournament. But as it stands, yes, it does look like the Berserk Beasts are going to be taking this one. There's little to no chance of them actually pulling it back. There was another Stone Bloom that might have evened up the odds for them a little bit, but as it stands, it looks like there's about 8 against 3 at the moment. And we'll continue to keep an eye on this and see if it develops any further. And no, another 40% coming in for these Berserkers. They were not specialized in luck, so it's very strange that they're able to repeatedly take on these hits. We'll have to actually check the odds, and in fact, we'll actually have to check if perhaps the information is wrong on our camera griffin up there. It does appear that they might need a little bit of tweaking. I cannot believe that these 40% are something that that manages to land this often, and a huge crit coming in over there. Apparently he's very angry at one of his comrades going down, and Mr. Jackus over there takes a Berserker out almost in one hit, attempting to pull this back. It seems like she's going to be going forward potentially with a mighty strike on her, pulling out another Harvest Dance over there. They will not have the built-up adrenaline to be able to do a preempt, so they're going to simply sit there. Very poor performance from the Swordmasters. I would have expected more from them, but a lot of this certainly comes down to their choice of weapon. If they simply had more options available to them, they might be able to do more than simply keep their enemies locked in place. If they had had more time in the early rounds, if they had actually pushed forward for the full time slot there, they might have been able to build themselves up to the point where they might have felt a bit more confident in landing those early odds. And it seems like we might have one Crimson Reach potentially taking out the remainder of their team, and no, it actually does not do what they were hoping to. And a big Stone Bloom coming out. I would be very impressed if they managed to pull this off now, but as unlikely as it is, you could still simply say that this is technically winnable for them. But it looks like no. Mr. Jackus is about to get knocked off right back into that tar pit, as we have Alyssa here chewing on some mint leaves, and they will continue to do so. No preempt, no mind's eye, nothing. They are attempting to breach their enemies now. Yes, there's simply no way, if this is their approach, there's simply no way that they'll be bringing this one back. Little John over there, who apparently has taken some time out of his adventures with a faraway archer to actually join us today. You never know when you actually go from thievery into accounting to eventually become a contest berserker. All right, another unlikely big 40% hit coming in here. I just simply cannot believe that those 40% are what they are saying that they are. And yes, with these last two competitors, we can safely go ahead and call this in favor of the Berserk Beasts, who will be moving forward here with a time of 25 minutes even, while the Swordmasters stay at 40. So this puts our top three competitors here as the still as the Warwolf Wizards at 1951. This puts our Archers Dominus at 2014, and this actually puts the Berserker Beasts in third place now, coming in at 25 minutes. So we will go ahead and see you next time. That is the end of our contest here, and we thank you for stopping by today. We look forward to seeing the future competitions coming up in this tournament. Y'all have a fantastic day, and take care. Stay safe out there.